All right, guys, quick update on what happened today and what we could possibly need to do about this. Okay, so, we gapped up, market was looking good and solid, and then there was a shift and change around 111, and then the real sell off began around 157, 158. Now, I guess earlier today, Blinken stated in a conference, at a NATO conference, that Ukraine would join NATO. Now, Putin has threatened that if Ukraine joins NATO, he will use nuclear force, right? So there's a lot of fear going on right now about a possible world war, right? Because of this statement today. And I'm just going to play it really quick just so you guys can hear it.
Day, Ukraine will become a member of NATO. Our purpose at the summit is to help build a bridge to that membership and to create a clear pathway for Ukraine, support for.
So what they're saying is the entire seminar today was for Ukraine to try to welcome them into NATO. So the thing about the market is, guys, the market does not like risk, right? If risk is going to exist, then people are going to respond according to the risk and reduce their allocation, right? Their position sizing. So that happened around like 12:31 today, which I think it took a little bit to hit the news. And then we started getting actual other news, and then the Federal Reserve started speaking today, a lot of the Fed speakers. If you look at this right here, so this was a 111, right? At 111 is when the downtrend started. At 111, Goldsby, which is a Fed speaker, said housing inflation is my most valuable indicator for the immediate future. That wasn't the one, it was this one right here. 110. Biggest danger on inflation is housing price pressure, and then this is the main one right here at 111. Last 2 months of inflation data bump cannot write off as purely noise, right? So they've been being bullish, but we have had 2 months of consecutively increases in inflation. So I think this bearishness right here started also making the market uneasy. The thing is, after he started talking like this, he continued it, right? I expecting inflation to become down more quickly than it has, essentially saying it hasn't moved down as quickly as he's been expecting. Housing inflation has to come down. I still think it will. If it doesn't, that would be a threat to our 2% target, and insinuating that they might have to change the policy, something like that. Then Biden called for an immediate ceasefire. And then Blinken started talking about Ukraine again. So there's just a whole lot of negative news, right? Uh, Here's another one. In March, shot down 2 rate cuts this year, and I think he talks about it being different. But if inflation continues to move sideways, makes me wonder if we should cut rates at all this year. That would be extremely bearish. That could cause the market to correct really bad, right? And this is all between 111 and 210. So all of this news hit the market today, with also Blinken talking about Ukraine joining NATO, which could literally spark a war. Like Putin has threatened the U.S. multiple times. If this happens, he will use nuclear force. He will flatten Ukraine. So the combination, I think, of both of those events is what's caused this sell. Now, the thing that's really concerning to me is this was an extremely powerful sell-off. I called it this morning that we'd get a sell-off. I didn't expect it to be this much, right? These are 10-minute candles. Every single one of them, not a single one of them made a higher high. Just consistent sell, right? And what I wrote here is, I think this sell-off brings the odds that we actually rally tomorrow, which I do think it's possible. If we don't rally tomorrow, I think it'll be Monday. Although we rally, I do not think it covers any ground, and we reject somewhere in supply, selling off again next week. I do not like how strong the sell-off was. This looks like someone who controls an algo, learned some information, or decided today was the top of the market. 2 hours and 40 minutes of lower high 10-minute candles, right? That's what we experienced here. Not one candle making a higher high, breaking through multiple support levels. This says that they were willing to sell at every price to anyone buying. Look at the volume bars, right? Like extremely high volume bars through the capitulation. Uh, this also says, this This also says they want to give the signs to the bears in shorts that they're ready, right? When bears in shorts see this, they get really confident, which means they're going to size up on the short side. I did post last Friday about the bear goggle thesis, and this is really giving a contribution to that idea. This 2 hour and 40-minute sell off has no structure behind it. There was no consolidation, it's just straight down, right? Uh, behind it, which tells me at the very least this would be an A structure for an ABC structure, which means C wave is at minimum the same length as wave A. So meaning whatever pop we would get, I think it would be sold off for another extended wave. So like if we rally up here from 435 on QQQ to like 440, I think it's going to go down to like 426, right? Something like that. Now I do think it's possible that sectors can diverge, maybe China from this, uh, and then maybe individual stocks will show some relative strength. But the ones who are leading this weakness, like miners and chips, those are the ones who will likely continue to lead to the downside if we have more downside. Now, the goal is to make a trade plan, and I will likely reduce my position sizes. Something that could make me counter this is if we cleared all of this within the next 42 hours by Monday, right? If we cleared all of this by Monday, I would feel so much more comfortable, right? So this is IWM, the Russell. If we cleared back above this entire sell-off, above 209, if we cleared SPY above this major sell-off, above 524, and then if Bitcoin got above like 72K, that would make me feel so much more comfortable. But up to this point, the bear goggles thesis is really playing out. Okay, so let's also go through the bear goggles thesis. So I pretty much went through all of this, and I said that there was a bearish thesis here, right? And if the data came in bad, or if Powell spoke negatively, then it could play out. Well, interestingly enough, we didn't get either of those bearish tech events, but the market's still playing out for the bearish thesis, right? And I said here, as much as I want to be a bull, the market has put us in exactly the right spot for this bearish thesis. The screenshots below is what I would like to consider the market internals. Kind of let you see how everything is doing collectively. Where we currently are, I can see a bearish thesis for Bitcoin as we are currently sitting at a lower high, unable to take out overhead supply and resistance. In the current rally we experience, I can count 5 waves up on the hourly, which could support the thesis of wave 3 being complete, right? So let's go to Bitcoin and break that down. So this is what we were looking at last Friday. I was saying that we're in overhead supply. This could be a 5-wave structure if this is a truncated fifth. If this is just, there's so much sell demand that it can't break out above wave 3, which is very common for it to happen, right? If this is the case, what we could see is a rejection from supply, and we can go down in this demand, which actually broke through this demand. Break through this, and we either get down to this 59.8 to 62,000 range and find support for a move higher, or if we break below this 59.8, then the mid-year rally is over, so to speak. And this is not changed at all for us, right? So let's look at actual Bitcoin. If we look at Bitcoin, it's essentially done exactly that. So when I made this post, it was right here, right? So we've rejected supply. We've made lower lows, right? The other day when we sold up here, I said that this was the easy shorted, right? But even at this point, even though we rallied today and it looked so strong, we haven't broke this high or this high or this high, right? So this is still lower highs. So even though it looked so strong, we haven't cleared any ground, which is very concerning. And that's what we have to keep our eyes on, right? Even though I'm about to spew out this whole bearish thesis, we have our levels that we just have to stick to our guns on and hope that, I'm wrong, to be honest, for the bearish thesis. But up to this point, we have to give credit where credit is due. And currently the bears are in the driver's seat, right? Lower highs, lower lows, right? Even though this was a 4.5%, 5% rally today, it didn't get us anywhere. It didn't even break the first pivot high, right? So if we reject here and we go down here, that's another lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, right? So we need to understand that. So with that being said, that was Bitcoin, right? Then if we move over to SPY and QQQ, right here, everyone knows we're overextended, but what we are dealing with currently is also lower highs rejecting supply. Now, the only bullish thing I can squeeze with this point of view is I only seen 3 waves up so far, and price action currently respecting the 50% fibs retracement, which is needed for wave 4. If we see an end of the day rally that breaks these highs, I might even be more concerned, considering that could signal the 5 waves is complete, which calls for a pullback or the completion of the wave, right? Which, if this is the bearish thesis moving forward, or the completion of the wave, if this is the bearish thesis. Now, I said this before we rallied, right? And if you look, what happened? I said I would be concerned if we had that rally. So this is where I said it, right? If you look at this, right, we're sitting in supply, and then what happened at the end of the day? We rallied, right? So this, to me, looked like the end of a wave, right? And there we go. And since that Friday, we have not been able to break that high, right? Unable to break that high. And then what do we see here? Now I see a very evident 3-wave structure, right? Which is corrective. That's as corrective and pretty as you can make it, right? Then what do we have here? This is so ugly. That's a straight down sell, right? So then this is an ABC. And now what I'm looking at is maybe it's something like this, right? Let me get down here in this zone, right? 490 to 496. Like that is so long, that's probably a wave A, right? If that's a wave A, then we have a small pop, tomorrow or next week, and then we go lower. That's what I'm thinking, right? That's what this is showing us. Then we can move over to Mara, right? Let's look for Mara. It's on the front one. There's one. Okay. Then we can move to Mara. In my YouTube video, I talk about 2 possible wave counts, and we need a weekly close over $27, right, to get a confirmation bias on the bullish sequence. But currently, leading into the data tomorrow, we currently have made a lower high on both Mara and Riot. Both could be argued that this is a lower high B wave correction. Combine that with CLSK also completing its 5 waves and currently playing out at head and shoulders. It could also be said, here, let's hold off on these. Essentially, my warning of Mara, Riot, and CLSK, all of them have played out, right? When I made this post, Mara was at $23. We made this lower high, right? I said we would reject. Now, given what I could see is this could be a bullish sequence or that could be this ABC. Either way, we should get some kind of bounce soon, which I'm hoping for. But it's not always the case. But even though all of this is played out, our risk is still 1450. It's just we were so far away from it, which is what I kept pounding the table about, right? Don't buy at $20 when the better buy is between 14 and 1650, right? Get a little bit of nibbles. We're in the 19 to 20 range, but other than that, don't buy a lot. And then if we fast forward to see what has happened with Mara, it literally did it. So far, it literally sold off, right? It was like $23. We hit that 24 and 24.88, and it hasn't looked back. 20% since that post, right? When I called for the sell right here at 23.88, 23%. So there's a bullish thesis here, right? This could be a leading diagonal, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's only the case as long as we do not trip this low, right? This low is 1743. If this 1743 breaks, this is not a bullish sequence, and we have to look out, right? We have to look further out. And then this starts looking like maybe an ABC correction, right? Could this be an ABC correction? Lord, I hope not. But that is the bearish thesis, right? I've pointed that out before, which this is the line in the sand. This is the 1450, right? Remember, there's 4 technicals of confluence. There's Bitcoin at 1598, Mara at 1450, Riot at 960, CLSK at 1475. The grateful thing is, even though they all have sold off, I'm here to tell you that I think if one of these breaks, all of them are going to break, right? And we're getting here in this buy zone, but Riot's only, 6% from validation. You know, Mara is still quite a ways away, right? 20%. Like you can lose 20% on Mara, which is why I haven't bought any, right? I bought the 10% that I sold, but I have not added since I bought in the original buy zone. Um, all of my shares are down here in the 16 to $18 range anyways, right? And then with the respect of me buying that $20 nibble buy, my cost basis went up a little bit. But most of my shares are down here, and I haven't added during this because I'm looking for that confirmation. So like I'm almost back to break even, you know, but this risk here is a 20% loss. So what I'm thinking is if this bearishness is going to play out, we're going to see it in Riot and CLSK first, right? Riot's right there, right? Since then, it's sold off. If we look at this post, Riot was 1225, and I said a lower high bear flag. If you look at this, there's the bear flag, right? There was a bear flag. As soon as it broke, we haven't looked up, you know, and down 16%. But now we're only 6% away from invalidation. So what this tells me is if we're going to reverse, it's got to be soon, right? Now, essentially, this place was the all-time lowest ascending support and all-time high descending resistance. Something I don't like is we broke under this, right? Now we broke below this ascending trend, the bullish trend. We broke below that, right? And then this looks like a back test to me in a lower low. That looks bearish to me. It's a little concerning. But 960 is where we get validated at. Same thing with CLSK, right? CLSK's, you know, I said that there should be a path here. And this is the thing, right? I think we should get a rally here unless we're going way deeper, right? If we don't get a rally here and it goes down here, that means wave C is going to be deeper, right? So that just kind of lets us know how ugly this is going to get. And if we take a loss here, you know, we just sit on the sidelines and we wait for everything to retrace 30% and then we get a deeper discount. So it's like drop the ego for the better cost basis. But, you know, I'm thinking we should, based on these charts, we're either going to knife drop through them, especially if all this news comes into fruition, if they really start running with like World War III and all that crap, then we got some concern on our hands. If not, then I feel like we should get a reaction here, right? We're oversold, right? CLSK has literally dropped 35% and not looked back, and we're in demand, right? We're in all this consolidation. But if it doesn't, the 1475, 1460 area, that's an invalidation. How far are we away? You know, 6%. So if CLSK and Riot have another bad day when they break below this, then most likely all of this bearishness is playing out. And that's what we have to really be mindful of. So then I talked about ETH. Looks like it's an ABC correction. Litecoin, XRP, they look like they have head and shoulders. In my opinion, going into today's close, most of these charts look bearish. The combination of these events can easily make this play out or counter it. Failed breakdowns with a bullish catalyst is just as powerful for the upside as the cumulative alignment of all these charts combined with the bearish catalyst for the downside. But we do have to acknowledge the risk here, right? These current charts are not set up for the bullish thesis, and it is for that reason we have to take trims. We have to reduce our size. We have to reduce our risk. I would rather miss a few percentage on the beginning of the next rally than be holding an entire position at the top of a pullback. Risk management is prioritized over unmade profit, going to such combination of charts and a catalyst, in my opinion. Okay, so now that I've made this, so far, this week has not helped our case, right? Everything is sold off. CLSK sold off. Mara sold off 20%. Riot sold off. You know, Bitcoin hasn't made a new high, right? ETH giving us the same issues, right? In between this, I mean, we still have our thesis intact, but there's a lot of risk on the table, right? But I think, you know, there's a possibility of a pop here. And what I would really like to see is, you know, something that was a little bit, in my opinion, what I felt was pretty good about today is the day was a negative 2% red candle day on SPY, right? We have not had one of these big of red day candles since March 9th, 2023, right here. This is the last time we had this big of a red day candle, right? And even though the candle was this ugly and the sell-off was this strong, I mean, let's not get it twisted. Many of our stocks went green to red. That's bearish as fuck, right? But it's not that bad, right? Not that bad. The bad thing I would say about this is crypto is leading the way down, right? I warn that the things is can be some sectors and stocks that diverge, but the ones that are showing weakness might continue to show weakness, which gives to my thesis, right, of my basis for the miners showing us the true outcome of the next 6 weeks, right? If they break below these supports, then I do think we're at risk here of a bigger correction, a nastier correction, in which I'll start calling for positions closed, right? But until then, we are so close to that bottom to where there has to be an outcome, right? If there's a bullish thesis, it has to give it to us in a very short time frame, right? And I'd say in like the next 48 to 72 hours, by next Tuesday, Wednesday, we have to start seeing progress. Otherwise, the charts are going to develop too bearishly, and then everything's going to start getting invalidated. So if that's the case, we have to be mindful of it. Now, let me just give a macro analysis of the market. To me, this is a little concerning. But even though the data today was claimed to be on news, I think it's an excuse for the charts, right? This is SPY. What happened here with the RSI? We have a wedge RSI breakdown. That's ugly as fuck. It really is. Where did we close at? Around the 50, right? If you look historically, realistically, it looks like it's about this, right? It looks like a 46 to 40, 43 to 49, right? In the bullish sequences, right? When it's just a dip, it drops down to these areas and then it goes back higher, right? You can see there, 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 there. So this, in my opinion, is an RSI demand zone. So we have to be mindful of that. But if we break below this, let's go ahead and set this alert right in front of you guys. If we break below that and it closes, I think it's going to get a lot nastier than we expect, right? When this stuff starts dropping this low, you can see how ugly they can be, right? This low, you can see how ugly it can be. This low, how ugly it can be. So if we did have a major sell-off today, but even with that sell-off, we're already kind of getting in there. I would like to see a bounce right here at the 49.50, right? Now let's look at this. The ADL line tells me what's under the hood, right? This is an ascending support. Literally, it called the entire trend. Watch how cool this is. Called the entire trend, right? This ascending support. And then when we started breaking under it, right? To me, this looks like a bearish divergence, March 8th. So we break under it, we make a higher high, right? But then it's under the ascending support. What happens eventually? It tops out. I called the top, right? Now, what are we looking at, right? What we're looking at, in my opinion, is this is a ascending resistance all the way back from May of 2019. And we broke up under it today. And not only did we break under it, but this was a double bottom ADL support, and now we broke through it. That's bearish. This is bearish. Now, given in 2-3 trading days, we can get back above this, I'd feel more comfortable. I already set an alert here, right? For this. Descending ADL. I would like to see it get above this downtrend, right? We need to see that. But up to this point, the charts from last week continue to bearish thesis. SPY's chart looks bearish. The RSI looks bearish. ADL line looks bearish. This is a massive drop off from here. If we break below this MACD line, that's bearish. If we look, now I can try to give you guys the counts of these, and this is where I'm trying to aim to see where we're going down to. But I can see a 1, 2, 3, 4 here, 5, and I think this is wave 3, right? So if I count this, I think this is wave 1, 2 to the larger degree. This is the extended wave 3, right? So this is a 1, 2, 3 of 3. Now this is going to be a wave 4 of 3, and this will be a wave 5 of 3. Then when we get up here, we finish wave 3, and I really think this might be around the end of like July, August. Then we'll have a multi-month correction down here into the new year, into the election, and then we fucking rally for like 4 months, right? This is my macro view plan, right? And I thought we had one more leg in us here in the short term, but now it's looking like this is going to play out. And the really interesting thing about this is if this plays out, this also plays out with my analysis of, I'm not joking, when you can look at like the last 6 years of like mid cap, small cap stocks, they usually bottom around May 10 to 14th or June 10 to 14th. And what is it? It's April 4th. So if we have a 4, 5, 6 week correction, right, where we chop and we break down and break down a lot of people, and we bottom around those days, I am so bullish. I'm not joking when I've made so much money on those dates just because I've started identifying the sell-off. So I don't know how crypto is going to, and the other stocks are going to react to all of this. We kind of already made it halfway down here if you look at it, right? We already made it halfway down here, and the stocks didn't really do that bad. Now, given it could get a lot nastier, but that makes me a little bit optimistic. We just have to trade the charts that we do have, right? What's funny as well as weed stocks. Anytime weed has ever rallied, it's always been near the end of a rally. And even though I'm calling for a weed bull market this time, it was funny because Tilray and CGC both hit alerts today that called the completion of wave 1, right? And wave 1, at the end of wave 1, there's a deep retracement of wave 2, typically between the 61 to 78% retracement, which is 3/4 of the way back down, right? If you look, I even set the alert. What's the alert here? Oh, I deleted the alert. Okay, sorry. But it hit supply and instant rejection, right? Like I had both of these already set. Tilray, what happened? Hit the supply, instant rejection, right? So it's kind of funny that the day sold off like this, and then weed once again kind of identified this. But needless to say, we have to stick to our levels, but I still want to give the macro view. So if this is to play out, right, I could see it where we make this lower high, we trip this lower high, we trap some shorties, so to speak, and we do a little bit of a rally, maybe mid to the end of April, and then we sell off really harsh for like 2-3 weeks, right? But this isn't to say that like in this small rally in the indexes, small mid cap doesn't rally really hard, right? So that's why we still need to stick to our guns with our levels on the individual stocks, because maybe there's some divergences there. And we could pray for that, right? God, that'd be amazing. But up to this point, like, look how big this 4-hour candle is. Look at that. Crazy. Look at this. Oh, that's kind of cool. If you look at this, this is a similar capitulation candle. What happened? I actually started an uptrend. God, that'd be hot. Please prove me wrong. So that's SPY, IWM, it broke that lower low a little bit. That's not good. What do we got here? Got anything? That looks like, yeah, nothing really. Just this demand zone. QQQ, poor thing, broke the fuck down harshly. Oh, this is something. So this chart right here, this chart is a chart that is created from the top 6 mega cap stocks. So this chart is the creation of Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, Google, Nvidia, Amazon, Meta, things like that. And this secretly typically has also a visible chart that sometimes you can't tell in other screens, right? And what I see here is something similar, right? I see this as a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here, I think this wave 5 is an extended wave 5 rather than 3, right? Like 3, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 a little bit, but this one, I can see this a lot better, right? And so I've counted all this. And if we drop, I'm looking for some type of support here and a pop, and then maybe a breakdown to this level. So this is where I will be looking for, I call it market internals, but when I'm looking at all these charts, and if we start going into demand at the same time on all these charts, that's what gives me the signal at the bottom. That's how I've always been able to identify the pivots of the markets. Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, ultimately, I think we are in a bull market, right? It's just which turn is everyone going to take, right? So if this, for example, if this Tilray has topped and it's going to do a 61% retracement, and it's, I haven't figured out enough data if it's in pre-market or regular trading hours, but we hit 310 in pre-market. Realistically, Tilray could drop all the way down here, right? And that's, a 20 to 30% drop from here, from the closing today. Now, given if that's going to happen, what I would assume is, an ABC correction, kind of a here, a pop, and then a lower low like that. So we could always trade some of this stuff around, but this could also only be here or here, right? So with all this information, I do think we're oversold, right? I do think there will be a pop. I really want to see how everything responds, but I think during this pop, I'm going to reduce more of my position sizes. There's risk here, man. I'm seeing the risk. Oh, that's what I was going to show you guys. So I showed you guys SPY, same thing with QQQ, right? Now we broke under 50. Now, given this is kind of a channel here, so now we've hit the bottom of the channel, but overall, that's broken, right? Same thing with ADL. Broke the uptrend, starting to break down, we're starting to develop a descending resistance, right? And so I can't really be bearish or bullish until I break it back above this. Essentially, that's pretty much broken that, and now that's a lower low, right? The MACD is starting to curl down to the downside drastically, and typically what happens when it breaks up here, it usually gets in this area, and then it starts curling back up for the bullish thesis. Like you can kind of see it here, to be honest. Here's one. Here's one, right? Goes here, curls up. That's during the bear market. Here's one, curls up. So that's what I would like to see, but that's possibly what's going to happen, right? It's just how low is the VIX going to stay? If the VIX starts increasing like it does, it's going to be not good for equities, because then that causes bad market breath, right? But I'm hoping there's some rotation, because mega caps are so overextended that if they could give us some rotation, that'd be beautiful. Same thing with the Mega 6, right? Ascending support, slashed right through it, and now where we're at, 48. Let's look here, right? It looks like for the most part about here to here. Yeah, about that. So if it's going to find support, it has to get through here. If not, that's a problem. Same thing here. There was an ascending support, broke through it. There was ascending support here, broke through it. There's just so much stuff pointing at bearishness today. And that's what made me concerned, right? I expected a sell-off today. It shouldn't have been that bad. And the fact it was is it broke a lot of charts. It broke all of this, right? It broke all of these charts. It broke all these indicators. It showed bearishness on everything now. If it was a low or high, or sorry, high or low, and we just retraced like everything we gave today, like that's what I was expecting. But that's not what we got. We got something extremely bearish, right? And false breakdowns can be just as strong as negative catalyst breakdowns. So That's possible, but we would need it in the next 48 to 72 hours, and it would have to show strongly. Um, Something also I noticed, no, this is Bitcoin related. I just learned about BCH market cap. And I don't think anyone on Twitter shows us stuff, but anytime we've ever broken up to this supply zone, its initial reaction was a breakdown, a rejection, right? In both cycles, breakdown and rejection, right? If you look, it's pretty much what happened, right? So this is the interesting thing. This is also why I think we could have a pop. If you look at this, both of these, this was a breakdown, like a rejection, but a close near the high of the day. But then this one had a hanging man. So this was strong sell off, but then close near the high. What are we doing right now, to be honest? Right? What's happening right now? Hanging man. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin holds it like this until the following week and then sells off. Because we do have to keep that in consideration that that could happen, right? But what happened in just a few weeks? One harsh sell-off, some sideways consolidation, and then a rally up. What happened here? A couple weeks. This would literally fit into my narrative, right? Of May 10 to 14th or June 10 to 14th, right? If it happens in April, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2 months, 2 months, June 4th, right? Which could actually be June 10th. What about this one? Right. 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? That's that near the 20th of May. This could, it could be how it plays out. We have to keep our eyes on it and hope that, there's some divergences because a lot of our levels are currently close to getting triggered. But I would really like to see a bigger retracement than this, right? Like, let's hope, even if this is ABC correction, we get like one of these. And if we're going to do it, it's got to be like soon as fuck, right? This descending channel, we're hitting it right here. We're in demand. There's more demand here, but I think Riot and CLSK will be the first shoes to drop. If this is going to happen, they're going to get invalidated first. So with this being said, let's conclude this. I am going to reduce my position sizes across the board on any pops tomorrow and Monday. I'm probably going to reduce my position sizes by another 30%. Right? It's very unfortunate because I bought, man, we were sitting so pretty. I bought every fucking red dip this week. And today I was up like $18,000 on one of my accounts. And it went literally down to 2,000. Now, given my penny micro stocks, weed stocks are paying me, but man, so annoying. But we have to play the game how it is. If this is what's going to feed us, we have to manage our risk. We have to do right by our bank accounts, right? We have to do right by our bank accounts. So I'm very likely going to sell any pop on all of my stocks and trim by 30%, especially in the ones that are further away, right? Like with Mara, it's further away. So I'm probably going to trim Mara more than Riot. I don't even own CLSK, to be honest. I don't. It already looked like it finished its wave, so I was like, let me just do Riot, Mara, and Wolf. And Wolf looks great, to be honest. I think Wolf's chart looks better than all of theirs, to be honest. And will likely continue to keep going because this doesn't look. I mean, I'd be really struggling to say that's 5 waves. So I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I think that's wave 1, right? And that's realistically what could happen, right? This looks like the ABC that I warned of. You just got to draw the lines down more, right? Like maybe it's like this, and this is what happens to Wolf. And then Wolf ends up being like one of the fucking leaders because no one's expecting it. But I know psychology, and in weed, all the popular names always rallied even though they were shit. This is an attractive ass name. Wolf is a nice name. So I think it's going to be one of the top leaders, right? My favorite is XRP, Mara, BitF, and Wolf. But needless to say, I'm going to reduce position sizes and I'm going to wait it out and see if anything gets invalidated, and then I will really be vocal if our shit gets invalidated. Uh, and then, if I reduce my fucking position sizes and it rallies again, then fuck it. Then the rest of my positions will be sitting pretty, but at least I reduce the risk because there is so much risk right now. There's a cumulative data telling us there's risk, right? My warning from last Friday is playing out on every chart, right? I gave us Bitcoin, I gave us Riot, Mara, CLSK, SPY, QQQ. I gave us all these charts as an accumulative data, and they all resulted and came to fruition in the negative manner. Um, you know, it's hard to forecast one thing and do another, but first and foremost, you can't be arrogant either. I can't be bullheaded and be like, nope, I'm only singular minded. I'm gonna think the way I think and continue with the thesis, and then lose my money, lose everyone's money, and then not have any money to buy the dip. Because I promise you, I really believe this. In the next 2 years, marijuana, miners, crypto, China, all of these motherfuckers are going up hundreds of percents. It's just, are we going to lose 50% on the drawdown, right? And I'm not going to hold it going down. I'm going to trade that motherfucker. I might lose a little bit on the way down, but when I fucking snipe that bottom, and I will, I'm getting rich. I'm hitting 7 figures this next cycle, guaranteed. All right, that's it. This is a long one. Cheers.